Ravi was known in his town as a calm and curious diver who always searched for hidden things in the deep sea. From his childhood, he loved water. When other children played in the streets, he spent his time near the shore watching the waves rise and fall. As he grew older, that interest turned into a passion. He trained for many years, learned ocean science, and became an expert diver who explored places where few people dared to go. One bright morning, the sea looked peaceful. The sky was a clear shade of blue, and soft clouds floated slowly above. Ravi stood on the wooden pier, closing his eyes for a moment as the warm wind touched his face. He was not planning to dive that day until he heard something strange the night before. A group of old fishermen had gathered near the tea stall and talked about an unusual shadow in the water. They said they had seen a long, narrow shape deep below the surface. One fisherman even said it looked like something made of metal. Ravi listened quietly at that time, but the thought stayed in his mind. A metal shape in this part of the ocean was uncommon because there were no known shipwrecks or old structures recorded in that region. Now, standing on the pier, he felt a strong sense of curiosity pulling him toward the sea. He walked toward his small boat, checked his diving gear, and prepared to head out. The journey began smoothly. The boat moved across the gentle waves, leaving a white trail behind. The water shined in the sunlight, making it look like a giant sheet of glass. Birds flew overhead and occasionally dived down to catch small fish. Ravi kept his eyes on the horizon, thinking about the reports of the fishermen. They were not the type to invent stories. They knew the sea very well, and whenever they shared something strange, Ravi took it seriously. After about an hour of sailing, he reached the location mentioned by the fishermen. He turned off the boat engine, and the sea became silent. The stillness made the place feel mysterious, almost as if the ocean was waiting for him to see something. Ravi put on his diving mask, checked his oxygen tank, and fastened the strap of his underwater light. He made sure everything was in perfect condition because deep dives required careful preparation. With one final deep breath, he jumped into the water. The cold touch of the ocean spread around him, but he welcomed it. He enjoyed the feeling of floating weightlessly. As he went deeper, the sunlight grew weaker. The blue color of the water slowly changed into shades of dark green and deep navy. Small fish surrounded him, curious but harmless. Ravi switched on his underwater light. The bright beam cut through the darkness, revealing rocks, coral patches, and drifting seaweed. He followed the direction described by the fishermen, moving slowly and paying attention to every movement around him. The water here was quiet and still, as if untouched for a long time. After a few minutes, he noticed something unusual. The shadow of a large object rested on the seafloor. It did not look like a natural rock or coral formation. It had sharp edges and a long, straight shape. Ravi felt his heartbeat grow faster. He swam closer, and the object became clearer. It was a massive metal structure lying on its side. As he moved around it, he realized something unbelievable. It was a train wagon. A real train wagon deep under the ocean. Ravi stopped for a moment, stunned. How could a train wagon end up here? The nearest railway line was far from the coast. Even during storms, no train had ever been reported lost in this region. Questions flooded his mind, but he knew he had to focus. He approached the wagon carefully. The metal body was covered with thick coral and small sea plants. Despite the age, parts of the wagon still looked strong. The windows were broken, allowing fish to swim in and out freely. A large hole near the back of the wagon looked like it had been created by impact, not by natural erosion. Ravi swam around the wagon, inspecting every side. The wheels were partly buried in the sand. The door was jammed shut and covered in rust. But the most interesting part was a small opening near the rear section. It looked just wide enough for a person to slip through. He hovered near it for a moment. Entering an unknown structure underwater could be dangerous. There could be sharp metal pieces or narrow spaces, but Ravi was experienced. He knew how to handle tight underwater places, and his curiosity was too strong to ignore. He adjusted the light, tightened his grip on the handle, and gently pushed himself through the opening. As he entered, the temperature seemed to drop slightly. The inside of the wagon was darker than the sea outside. Dust-like particles floated in the water, stirred by his movement. The beam of his light moved across rows of seats, all rusty and tilted at strange angles as if the wagon had been shaken before sinking. The silence felt heavy. Even the sound of water movement seemed softer here. Ravi felt his pulse in his ears. He moved slowly, checking each seat and the floor beneath him. He wanted to understand how old this wagon might be and what could still remain inside. The seats were arranged in 2 long rows. Between them was a narrow aisle filled with sand, shells, and small fish hiding between old metal parts. The wagon looked untouched for many years. Ravi imagined passengers once sitting here during their journey, unaware of what fate awaited the train. He pushed the thought aside and continued deeper. Something on the right side caught his attention. It was a small metal box attached to one of the seats with a rusted chain. The box did not look like it belonged to a regular passenger. It looked more official, like a secure container used to carry important documents or items. Ravi moved closer and examined it. The surface was covered with strange carvings, not simple numbers or letters. The design looked like a code or a message. He ran his fingers over the symbols. The box felt heavier than he expected. It did not open easily. Before he could think further, he felt a soft current behind him. He turned quickly, expecting to see a large fish or maybe a shadow moving across the opening. But he saw nothing unusual. The wagon remained silent and still. Yet the feeling of being watched suddenly grew stronger. He looked around again, shining his light in every corner. Then he noticed something at the far end of the wagon. A shape sat in the last seat, perfectly still. Ravi's eyes widened. At first glance, it looked like a person. His heart beat faster. He moved slowly closer, careful not to disturb anything. When his light finally reached the shape, he stopped. It was not a human body. It was a wooden doll dressed like a train guard. The doll sat upright, facing forward. Its glass eyes reflected the beam of his light, giving it an eerie look. Ravi took a deep breath, calming himself. Someone must have placed that doll here long ago. Maybe it was part of the train. Maybe the guard kept it as a display piece or a good luck charm. But then he noticed something else. On the seat beside the doll, words were carved into the metal surface. The letters were rough, but readable. They said, "Keep the box safe. Do not open under the sea." Ravi stared at the message, his mind filled with questions. Why would anyone carve such words inside a train wagon? Why warn about opening the box under the sea? Why was the box chained to the seat? He knew he could not solve those questions by staying inside the wagon. He needed to take the box to the surface. He moved toward it again, tested the chain, and pulled it free. The box was heavy, but manageable. He secured it under his arm and swam toward the opening he had entered through. As he left the wagon, the light outside felt brighter than before. But something else changed. The ocean floor beneath the wagon vibrated slightly. A few bubbles rose from the sand. Ravi looked down. The ground moved as if something was shifting underneath. He did not want to stay any longer. Holding the box tightly, he swam upward at a steady pace, trying to stay calm. The water around him felt thicker, almost humming with energy. He rose through the layers of blue until he finally reached the surface. He climbed onto his boat and placed the metal box on the deck. The sunlight fell on it. To his shock, the carvings on the box flickered with a soft glow. The symbols appeared brighter now, almost as if the box was responding to something deep in the ocean. Ravi stood still, staring at the glowing carvings. He did not know what he had brought to the surface, but he knew one thing. His life had changed the moment he stepped into that strange underwater wagon. Something was hidden inside this box. Something important. And the warning inside the wagon made it clear that whatever was inside should not remain under the sea. Ravi sat on the deck of his small boat, staring at the metal box. The sunlight reflected off the soft glow of the carvings. He ran his fingers over the strange symbols again. They were still warm to the touch. He could feel a faint vibration under his hand, almost like the box had a heartbeat of its own. He could not explain it, but he knew this was no ordinary container. Something inside it was alive with energy, and it wanted to be discovered. The waves gently rocked the boat as Ravi tried to think. He had two choices. He could either leave the box safely on the boat and return home, or he could attempt to open it now. The warning from the wagon echoed in his mind. Do not open under the sea. He had obeyed that rule, and now he was on land, safe from the ocean's influence. Perhaps this was the right time to see what lay inside. Ravi unfastened the straps holding the box in place. It was surprisingly heavy, but his experience as a diver had trained him to carry heavy objects with balance. He moved the box to the center of the deck, away from the railing. Then he sat down carefully, took a deep breath, and slowly lifted the lid. The metal creaked under the movement. Inside, a glass cylinder rested on a bed of soft cloth. It was unlike anything Ravi had ever seen. The cylinder glowed faintly, and the light inside it pulsed gently, like a living heartbeat. He touched the cylinder with his fingers. The glow intensified slightly, as if reacting to his presence. Ravi pulled it out carefully, holding it upright. As he moved it closer to the sunlight, the color of the glow changed from a soft blue to a warm golden hue. He felt a wave of calmness wash over him. The cylinder was beautiful, strange, and powerful at the same time. He could not tell what material it was made of. It did not feel like ordinary glass. The warmth it gave off was soothing, yet it carried a strange energy that made his skin tingle. Under the cylinder, folded neatly, was a piece of paper. Ravi carefully took it out and unfolded it. The handwriting was old and delicate, written in black ink that had not faded despite the years. It was a message from someone who had lived long ago, someone connected to the wagon and the box. The note read, "This stone must never touch the sea for long. Its energy is strong and unpredictable in water. It carries the power to affect machines and lights. Keep it safe until it can be studied." Ravi read the note several times, absorbing the meaning. Machines and lights? Could this stone have been part of a larger discovery in the past? Had someone hidden it to protect the world from its power? The idea both excited and worried him. Whoever had written this note had known the danger. Whoever had guarded this stone had risked everything to keep it safe. The boat rocked gently, and Ravi looked around. He was alone in the middle of the ocean with a glowing stone and a mysterious note. It felt like the start of a journey much bigger than he could imagine. He carefully wrapped the cylinder back in the soft cloth and placed it in his backpack. The box itself he would secure for later study. Every part of this discovery felt important, as if each detail had a purpose. Ravi decided to head back to shore. The boat moved smoothly over the calm waves. While he traveled, his mind wandered to the train wagon on the ocean floor. The wooden doll dressed as a train guard sat in his memory, glass eyes staring straight ahead. Why had someone left that doll there? Was it only to protect the stone, or was there more he had not discovered yet? There was no way to know. That thought made him anxious, but also more determined. He had to uncover the full story. Hours passed as he returned to the city. When the small harbor came into view, Ravi felt relief. The land, solid and familiar, gave him a sense of safety. He docked his boat, carrying both the metal box and the wrapped cylinder to his workshop. His workshop was small, filled with old tools, diving equipment, and shelves full of books about the sea. It was a quiet place where he could focus on his studies without distraction. Ravi placed the box on a sturdy table. He then opened it again, not to take the cylinder out, but to examine the carvings on the metal surface. The symbols glowed softly under the sunlight coming through the window. He took a magnifying glass and began tracing the patterns. Some symbols resembled letters, but others were more abstract. The designs seemed deliberate, almost like a code. He knew that someone had spent hours carefully engraving them. The box itself was not just a container, it was a puzzle, key to understanding something important. For the next few hours, Ravi carefully recorded every symbol. He drew sketches and compared them with old documents about lost trains and ancient railway stories. Slowly, he began to see connections. The symbols matched certain dates and locations. There was a reference to a storm that had occurred many years ago. The storm had destroyed a railway bridge, causing a train to fall into the river. Passengers had been rescued, but no one had ever found the wagon. Most records had assumed it had been lost to the water. But Ravi now realized the train had traveled much farther than anyone imagined. It had ended up in the open sea, carrying a secret that no one had known until now. The thought made him shiver. He had stumbled upon history, a story that had been hidden for decades. And the box, with its glowing cylinder, was part of that story. Someone had gone to great lengths to protect this object. The wooden guard doll, the carvings, the chained box set, all made sense now. They were warnings, signs to protect the stone until someone trustworthy could study it. Ravi's curiosity grew stronger. He knew the next step had to be careful. The stone might be safe to touch on land, but the note warned about its power in water. He could not risk testing it too soon. Instead, he decided to do research. He took out old books, papers, and articles about rare minerals and powerful stones. He wanted to understand what he had found before doing anything more, late in the afternoon. Ravi received a call from a friend Mira, who was a scientist specializing in geology. He explained the discovery without mentioning the glowing part yet. Myra was fascinated by the story of the train wagon and the mysterious box. She suggested they meet at the lab to examine it with proper instruments. Ravi agreed, knowing that collaboration would make the discovery safer and more meaningful. By evening, Ravi had prepared the stone and the box for transport. He carefully wrapped the cylinder and secured it in a padded case. He labeled everything and noted down the location of the wagon in his log. The glow of the cylinder pulsed faintly even through the cloth. It was as if the stone recognized it would soon meet someone who could understand it. The next morning, Ravi and Mira met in her laboratory. The lab was filled with machines, monitors, and shelves of samples from all over the world. Mira's eyes widened when she saw the stone. It glowed softly even under artificial light. Ravi placed it carefully on the examination table. Mira picked up a scanner and began analyzing its composition. "It's amazing," she said. "This material doesn't match anything we've seen. The energy signature is unusual. It's safe so far, but it seems to carry a small magnetic field. That may explain the note about machines and lights. It could interact with metal and electricity if mishandled." Ravi nodded. The warning on the paper made sense now. Whoever hid it knew it could be dangerous in water. The wagon, the box, the doll, they were all part of the protection. Mira studied the cylinder closely. "It's remarkable. We may be looking at something unique in the world. We need to document it carefully and preserve it. I suggest we do further tests in a controlled environment. No water, no electricity, only safe measurements," Ravi agreed. They spent the day measuring, photographing, and recording everything about the stone. The glowing never faded. Its warmth seemed to calm them both, and yet it carried a sense of mystery that neither could fully explain. The more they studied, the more questions arose. Where had it originally come from? How had it ended up on the train? How long had it been hidden? And why had the wooden doll been left to guard it as evening came? Ravi reflected on the past few days. His life had changed. A normal dive had turned into an adventure that connected history, science, and mystery. He felt proud and anxious at the same time. This stone was not just a discovery. It was a story waiting to be told. A story of courage, protection, and secrets kept for generations. He carefully wrapped the cylinder again and placed it in a special box Myra had prepared. The glow was soft, but steady. Ravi could not stop thinking about the wooden doll on the ocean floor, its glass eyes watching the deep. That simple object had protected a secret larger than anyone could imagine. That night, Ravi went home, but sleep was difficult. He thought about the wagon, the storm, the box, and the stone. Something told him that this was only the beginning. The ocean still held mysteries, and perhaps more secrets connected to this discovery were waiting. He closed his eyes, imagining the glow of the stone and the waves of the sea. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring new questions and new discoveries. And deep in his mind, Ravi felt a sense of responsibility. He had found something precious, something unique. He had to protect it, study it, and uncover its full story. The journey that began with a shadow under the waves was far from over. The silent box and its glowing stone were calling him to continue, to dive deeper into history and science, to reveal secrets that had been hidden beneath the ocean for decades. The next morning, Ravi returned to Mira's laboratory with a sense of excitement and nervousness. The glowing cylinder rested carefully in its padded box, and he had made sure that the protective cloth around it was secure. Even though the glow had softened overnight, Ravi could still feel its warmth through the cloth. He wondered if the stone had a kind of awareness, reacting to people who approached it with care. Mira greeted him with a smile. She was clearly eager to continue the study. "I could not sleep last night thinking about it," she admitted. "There is something unusual about this stone, Ravi. The energy it emits is steady, yet alive. It is not like any mineral we have examined before." Ravi nodded. "I feel the same. There is something more than just energy. It feels intentional, like it was waiting to be found." They placed the cylinder on a glass table in the center of the laboratory. The sunlight streamed through the windows, and for a moment, the room was filled with the golden glow of the stone. Mira switched on several small instrument synergy meters, light analyzers, and magnetic field detectors. The readings were unusual. The stone's energy seemed constant but would fluctuate slightly whenever anyone touched it. Even the soft air currents from the ventilation system caused small variations in the readings. "This is incredible," Mira said, adjusting a dial on one of the instruments. "It is stable in air, but highly sensitive. Even a small disturbance changes the readings. This is why the note warned about opening it underwater. Water probably amplifies its energy, making it unpredictable." Ravi leaned closer, examining the surface of the cylinder. The glow inside seemed to pulse softly, almost like a rhythm. It reminded him of the heartbeat of a living creature. He wondered who had originally discovered this stone. The note mentioned a train guard who had hidden it. But how had it been found in the first place? The history of the train, the storm, and the wagon now seemed connected to something much larger. "I think we should start by analyzing the composition," Mira suggested. "If we understand what it is made of, we may be able to uncover how it generates energy. Then we can explore its potential safely." They began by taking microscopic samples of the surface. The stone appeared crystalline, but not like any crystal they knew. Under a microscope, it revealed layers of intricate patterns, almost like natural circuits. The patterns were geometric, precise, and yet organic in appearance. Ravi could hardly believe what he was seeing. Something in the stone was capable of producing energy in a way he had never seen before. "Look at this," Mira said, pointing at one of the layers. "These patterns are similar to circuits, but they are formed naturally. It's almost as if the stone itself is alive, or at least designed to function like a machine." Ravi traced the lines with his finger. "Do you think it could influence machines directly? Maybe that's what the note meant about lights and devices." "Ah," Mira nodded. "It seems likely, but it is stable in air. The danger may come only when it is submerged in water," as the note warned. "We need to be very careful." As they continued their research, Ravi could not stop thinking about the train wagon on the ocean floor. The wooden guard doll still haunted his memory. It had been placed there to protect this stone. Whoever had designed the protection had known that people would need to find it one day, but only if they were careful. That level of planning was remarkable. After hours of study, Ravi decided to look more into the history mentioned in the note. He and Myra searched old newspapers, railway archives, and local records. They found stories about a train that had been lost in a storm many decades ago. The bridge had collapsed, and while some passengers were rescued, one wagon was never found. No one had expected it to end up in the open sea. Ravi felt a chill. The wagon had carried this stone to protect it, and now he held the final piece of the puzzle in his hands. The care that had gone into its hiding and the warnings carved inside the wagon showed the importance of the discovery. This was not just history. It was a secret meant to protect future generations. Myra looked at Ravi seriously. "You understand the responsibility, don't you? This stone is powerful. If it falls into the wrong hands or is misused, it could be dangerous. Even accidentally, its energy could cause serious damage. We have to be careful with every step we take from now on." Ravi nodded. "I understand. That is why I brought it here to study first. I want to make sure we know exactly what it is before we do anything else. It belongs to the world now, but we have to respect it." They continued the analysis late into the evening. The stone emitted a gentle warmth, and its glow created patterns on the walls that shifted slowly. Ravi and Mira noticed that when they touched the cylinder lightly, the glow pulsed faster, almost like it was responding to their curiosity. They both felt a strange connection with it, as if it had a mind of its own. "I wonder if it communicates," Ravi said quietly. "Not with words, but through energy. It reacts to attention, care, and movement." "It may be more intelligent than we think," Mira smiled. "It is possible. Nature can be more advanced than we imagine. This could be a discovery that changes our understanding of minerals and energy entirely." As night fell, the city outside the laboratory became quiet. Ravi and Mira packed the stone securely into its padded box. Ravi left for home, thinking about the next steps. He needed to plan carefully. The ocean still held the train wagon and its wooden doll guard, a reminder of the origin of the stone and the lengths people had gone to protect it at home. Ravi placed the box in a safe corner of his room. The glow from the stone was faint, barely visible through the padding, but it was enough to remind him that the discovery was alive. He could not sleep easily. He imagined the wagon on the ocean floor, the doll guarding the secret, and the storm that had brought it there decades ago. He realized that the journey of this stone had been long and dangerous, and now it had finally reached someone who could understand it. The next morning, Ravi returned to the laboratory. Mira had prepared more instruments for detailed energy readings. They carefully unpacked the cylinder. The glow now seemed more intense than before, as if it had sensed that it was being studied again. Ravi adjusted the light to minimize reflections, and Mira began recording every detail of the energy patterns. Hours passed. They discovered that the stone emitted a low-frequency vibration that affected nearby metallic objects. A compass placed near the cylinder wavered slightly, and small electronic devices responded with brief pulses of light. The energy was real and measurable. Ravi felt a mix of awe and caution. "This confirms the note," Mira said. "The stone's energy interacts with machines, and underwater, the effect is amplified. That is why it was kept submerged only temporarily in the wagon. It could have caused accidents if left unchecked." Ravi leaned back, reflecting on the journey that led him here. The box in the wagon, the doll, the storm, and the stone itself were all part of a careful plan. Someone had protected this secret for decades, making sure it would reach someone who could study it safely. Ravi felt humbled. The responsibility was enormous, but he also felt pride. He was part of a story that had begun long before his time. Mira suggested that they keep a log of all their findings. Every measurement, every reaction, and every observation was documented meticulously. Ravi agreed. He knew that this discovery could attract attention, both good and bad, and having careful records was essential. The stone was unique, powerful, and unpredictable. They had to treat it with respect. As evening approached, Ravi packed the cylinder again, this time in a larger protective case. Mira suggested storing it in a climate-controlled room overnight. Ravi agreed, knowing that preserving its condition was as important as studying it. The soft glow pulsed inside the padding, reminding him that the stone was still alive in some way, and that its journey was far from over. Before leaving, Ravi thought about the wooden doll once more. It had been the first guardian, stationed in the wagon decades ago. Its glass eyes had watched over the stone for years. The carvings in the box had warned anyone who found it to be careful. Every detail of the past had been designed to protect this one object. Ravi felt a deep respect for the unknown people who had planned everything so carefully. They had trusted that someday, someone would continue their work. That night, Ravi lay awake, imagining the glowing cylinder in the laboratory, the wagon deep in the ocean, and the wooden doll still sitting on the seat. The story of the stone was more than science. It was history, mystery, and responsibility all combined. Ravi understood that the next steps would be critical. He could study the stone, share the discovery, and uncover its secrets. But he also knew that care, patience, and respect were essential. He finally drifted into sleep, the image of the glowing cylinder lingering in his mind, and a faint sense that the stone had chosen him as its protector. The journey of discovery was only beginning, and he was ready for whatever secrets the stone would reveal next. The following morning, Ravi returned to Mira's laboratory, carrying the stone carefully in its padded case. The soft glow from the cylinder filled the room, creating gentle patterns on the walls. Ravi felt a sense of anticipation. He knew that today could reveal more than just the energy of the stone. Something inside it seemed to be waiting, as if it had a secret to share. Myra was already at the lab, her equipment set up for a full day of study. "Good morning, Ravi," she said with excitement. "I think today we may uncover more about how this stone works. Last night I reviewed the previous measurements, and I noticed patterns I did not fully understand. The energy pulses seem to correspond with time intervals. It may be sending signals or holding a message of some kind." Ravi opened the padded case and placed the cylinder on the table. The glow was brighter than before, almost golden in color. He watched it carefully, noting that the energy seemed to fluctuate gently as if responding to their attention. "Do you think it could actually store information, like a message from the past?" he asked. Mira nodded. "It is possible. Nature can be more advanced than we often realize. This could be a combination of energy storage and information encoding. We just have to find the right method to read it." They started by observing the stone with special scanners and magnifiers. The instruments revealed that the crystal inside the cylinder was layered in unusual ways. Each layer seemed to vibrate at a different frequency. The vibrations were subtle but detectable, and the changes appeared to repeat in a pattern. Ravi realized that the pattern was not random. It resembled a code, one that had been carefully created. "This is incredible," Ravi said, leaning closer. "The vibrations could be a message. Maybe the train guard knew about this and wanted to leave instructions for whoever found the stone. That could explain why the carvings warned us to be careful." Mira smiled. "Exactly. We need to decode the frequencies. If this stone contains a message, it may tell us more about its origin and purpose. We have to do it very carefully." Hours passed as they worked together. They recorded each pulse, each glow, and each energy fluctuation. The data slowly began to form a repeating sequence. Mira adjusted the equipment to isolate the frequencies. As the day progressed, the pattern became more recognizable. It was like a code made of light and energy instead of letters. Finally, Ravi noticed something remarkable. "Look at this," he said, pointing at the monitor. "The sequence is repeating every few minutes, and it seems to correspond with letters in a simple code. I think it is trying to spell something." Myra's eyes widened. "If that is true, we may be able to read a message from the person who originally hid the stone. This could reveal why the stone was protected and maybe even its full power." They continued their work, carefully translating the energy pulses into letters. Slowly, a message emerged. Ravi read aloud as Myra recorded it. "To the one who finds this stone, know that it carries power beyond ordinary understanding. It was discovered during railway construction many years ago. The energy can influence machines and lights, and if mishandled, it can be dangerous. Protect it, study it, and use it only for knowledge and safety. The wooden guard will show you the way. Seek the wagon where it rests. There, more instructions await." Ravi paused. His heart raced. The message confirmed their suspicions. The train guard, the wooden doll, and the box were all part of a long plan to protect the stone. The warning was not only about danger, it was about responsibility. Whoever found the stone was meant to continue the careful protection started decades ago. Mira looked at Ravi seriously. "This message proves that the train guard knew someone would eventually discover it. They left clear instructions. The doll, the carvings, the box it was all designed to guide a responsible person. And that person is you." Ravi felt a mix of pride and anxiety. He had been chosen by chance, yet the choice felt meaningful. The stone, glowing softly on the table, seemed to affirm his role. He knew that the responsibility was enormous. Protecting it, understanding it, and following the instructions meant that every action he took had to be deliberate and careful. They decided the next step would be to return to the site where the train wagon rested on the ocean floor. The stone's message mentioned that further instructions awaited at the wagon. Ravi and Mira planned to organize a careful expedition, taking proper equipment to reach the deep ocean and examined the wagon without disturbing its surroundings. Before setting out, Ravi needed to prepare. He spent the next day reviewing old maps, tidal charts, and the records from the fishermen who had first noticed the shadow under the waves. He also arranged diving equipment that could safely handle deep-sea conditions. Every detail mattered. They could not risk damage to the wagon, the stone, or themselves. When the day of the expedition arrived, the sky was clear and the ocean calm. Ravi and Mira boarded the small research vessel carrying the diving gear. Underwater lights and instruments to measure the stone's energy. Ravi carefully placed the cylinder in a waterproof case, ensuring that it was secure and safe from water exposure. The glow from the stone was visible through the case. Guiding him like a beacon, they reached the location of the wagon quickly. The water was deep but clear. Ravi felt a familiar excitement mixed with tension. As he prepared to dive, he thought about the wooden doll once more. It had been the first guardian of the stone. Its purpose was not only to protect, but also to guide. Ravi wondered if more surprises awaited him in the wagon. He and Mira descended carefully into the water. The depth increased gradually, and sunlight began to fade, leaving only the beam of their underwater lights. The familiar shapes of coral, rocks, and fish surrounded them. After several minutes, the outline of the wagon appeared beneath the waves. Its size was larger than he remembered. Coral and seaweed had grown over its surface, but the structure remained remarkably intact. Ravi approached the wagon slowly. He felt a sense of reverence. This was not just a relic of the past. It was a carefully protected repository of secrets. The entrance where he had first seen the box and the wooden doll was visible. He signaled to Myra and began exploring carefully. Inside, the wagon was exactly as he had remembered. The seats, the small metal box, and the wooden doll were all in place. The carvings warning about the box under the sea were still visible. Ravi felt a sense of awe. Decades had passed, and yet everything was preserved as if waiting for him. He carefully examined the wooden doll again. Its glass eyes reflected the light from his flashlight. Ravi could almost imagine the train guard watching him through the doll. It was an odd but comforting thought. The doll had been faithful to its duty for decades. Guarding the stone with patience and care, Ravi opened the small metal box and placed the glowing cylinder inside. He noticed a faint shimmer coming from beneath the box. Curious, he lifted the bottom panel and discovered a small folded parchment. It had survived underwater remarkably well. He carefully unfolded it and read the instructions written long ago. The stone is part of a natural energy network. It must remain dry and protected. To study its full power, it must be observed in controlled conditions. Trust only those who show respect and care. Use knowledge wisely. Ravi and Mira exchanged a glance. The message confirmed everything they had suspected. The stone was powerful, rare, and precious. It had been hidden carefully to prevent misuse. The responsibility now rested on their shoulders to continue the protection and learn from it. They carefully returned the cylinder to its waterproof case and signaled their ascent. As they rose toward the surface, Ravi looked back at the wagon. It rested silently on the ocean floor, its guardian doll still watching. He felt a deep respect for the unknown guard who had protected the secret for so long. The wagon, the doll, and the stone were all part of a story that spanned decades. Connecting the past to the present, back on the boat, Ravi placed the cylinder in a safe compartment. Mira examined her notes and the equipment readings. They had gathered enough data to continue their study safely. The ocean had revealed its secret, and now it was their duty to protect and understand it. Ravi knew that the journey of discovery was far from over. The hidden message, the wagon, and the glowing stone were only the beginning. The story of the stone was still unfolding, and the deeper he explored, the more he realized that every detail mattered. The guardians of the past had trusted him. He intended to honor that trust as the sun set over the horizon. Casting golden light across the calm ocean, Ravi looked at the glowing cylinder once more. Its gentle warmth and light reminded him that this was not just a discovery. It was a connection between past and present, a secret kept safe for decades, and a responsibility he would carry with care and respect. Ravi understood that the stone's story was larger than science. It was history, mystery, and responsibility all combined. And now, with the hidden message revealed, he was ready to continue the journey. The adventure had taken him from a strange shadow under the waves to the discovery of a secret that had waited decades to be uncovered. The next morning, Ravi arrived at Mira's laboratory with a mix of excitement and caution. The glowing cylinder rested in its protective case, and he felt a sense of responsibility heavier than ever before. Every day brought him closer to the secret that the stone held, and he understood that today might reveal the final part of its story. Mira greeted him warmly. "Ravi, I think we are ready to observe the stone in its full potential," she said. "We have all the instruments set up, and the conditions are perfect for careful analysis. We just need to be extremely cautious." Ravi nodded. The stone pulsed softly through the padding, almost like it recognized that it would finally be studied completely. He carefully removed the cylinder from its case and placed it on the center of the lab table. The golden glow filled the room, casting gentle patterns on the walls. It was beautiful and mysterious, as if it carried the memory of the ocean, the wagon, and the long history of guardians who had protected it. They began their examination using high-precision instruments. The energy readings were extraordinary. The stone produced a low-frequency pulse that seemed to interact with the surrounding metal and electronic devices. Even small objects like pens or clips on the table reacted with subtle vibrations. Ravi realized that the energy could influence machines without touching them. The warning in the note and the carvings inside the wagon had made perfect sense. Mira carefully observed the cylinder. It is responding to the environment and possibly to our presence. The energy is not random. It is structured. I think it may contain information stored in its energy fields, just like we discovered before. Ravi leaned closer. We have to decode it fully. I want to understand everything the Guardian intended for us to know. The wagon, the doll, the box, all of it was part of a plan. Now, it is our responsibility to follow through. They spent the morning observing the pulses, recording every change, and comparing it to previous readings. Slowly, a pattern became visible. The energy pulses were repeating sequences, almost like a map or instructions. Ravi's heart raced. Could this lead them to the final secret hidden within the wagon itself? Mira suggested, "We should see if the energy responds to distance. Let's place the cylinder near the metal box from the wagon. Perhaps the stone is linked to it," Ravi agreed. They carefully brought the metal box from the wagon, which had been stored safely in a special container, into the laboratory. As the cylinder approached, the glow intensified, and the energy readings became stronger. The vibrations were now easier to interpret. It was as if the stone recognized the box and activated some hidden message. Ravi carefully opened the box. Inside, all the carvings were intact, and the small compartments were undisturbed. As he examined it, a hidden latch on the side of the box clicked open. He gently lifted a panel to reveal a small metallic device wrapped in aged cloth. Ravi held his breath. The device was unusual, unlike any technology he had seen. Its surface was engraved with patterns similar to those on the cylinder, and faint energy pulsed along the lines. Mira gasped softly. "This is incredible. It seems the stone and this device are connected. Perhaps it was designed to work together, amplifying the energy safely when studied under controlled conditions." Ravi carefully removed the device and placed it next to the cylinder. Immediately, the glow from the stone brightened, and the energy readings surged slightly. The vibrations now formed a clear sequence, almost like a series of instructions. Ravi and Mira studied it carefully, documenting every pulse. Slowly, the sequence formed words in a simple code, revealing a message from the original Guardian. The stone is a key. It holds energy from the earth, a power that can influence machines and devices. It must never be used carelessly. To unlock its knowledge, combine with the device, observe safely, share wisdom, not harm. The wagon was the first safeguard. You are the next. Ravi read the message aloud. The realization hit him. The stone was not only a source of energy. It was a tool created by someone who understood nature in ways people today could barely comprehend. It had been hidden carefully in the wagon to prevent misuse. Only those who followed the Guardian's instructions could access its full potential. Mira looked at him with wide eyes. Ravi, this is beyond anything we expected. This is knowledge that could change how we understand energy and technology, but it is dangerous in the wrong hands. We must be extremely careful. Ravi nodded. He realized that the Guardians from the past had trusted him to continue their mission. It was not just a discovery, it was a responsibility. The wagon, the wooden doll, the box, and the stone were all connected. Each part had been placed with care to ensure that only someone careful and wise could unlock the final secret. With steady hands, Avi activated the metallic device according to the instructions in the coded message. The device began to hum softly, and the cylinder's glow intensified. Tiny sparks of light danced along the engraved patterns, forming geometric shapes in the air. The energy pulses synchronized between the stone and the device, creating a steady, rhythmic vibration that filled the room. Ravi and Myra watched in awe. The device seemed to read the stone's energy and translate it into a visible form. Slowly, a holographic-like pattern appeared above the cylinder. It showed maps, symbols, and even diagrams of energy flow. Ravi realized this was the knowledge the Guardian had wanted to share. It was a record of natural energy, how it could be observed safely, and how it interacted with machines. This is remarkable, Mira whispered. The stone contains knowledge, not just energy. The Guardian encoded information in its pulses and patterns, and now we can finally access it. It is a gift of understanding, designed to protect and teach. Ravi felt a sense of fulfillment. The journey that had begun with a shadow under the waves and a mysterious wagon had led to a discovery far beyond what he had imagined. The stone, the box, the device, and the wooden doll were all part of a long plan to preserve knowledge safely. As they studied the patterns, Ravi noticed a small detail in the holographic display. It was a diagram showing how the stone could interact with natural forces without causing harm. The Guardian had not only hidden the stone, but it also included instructions on how to use it safely. Ravi realized that this knowledge could help humanity understand natural energy in ways that were previously impossible. Mira carefully recorded every detail, ensuring that nothing would be lost. Ravi, we must keep this safe, she said. The wagon and the Guardian's instructions show that this was meant to be discovered by the right people. We have to continue their work and protect the stone while sharing its knowledge responsibly. Ravi nodded. He felt a deep connection to the past Guardians. The wooden doll on the ocean floor, the wagon, and the carvings had all been part of a careful plan. He understood now that the Guardians had trusted him to continue their mission, to protect the stone and to share knowledge without causing harm. As evening approached, Ravi and Mira carefully stored the stone and the device in secure cases. The glow from the cylinder was soft now, almost like a gentle heartbeat. Ravi looked at it and felt gratitude. The stone had chosen him, guiding him through a journey that connected history, science, and responsibility. Later, Ravi returned to the harbor and looked out at the calm ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange. He thought about the wagon on the ocean floor, the wooden doll sitting silently, and the journey of the stone through time. He realized that some secrets were meant to be discovered only when the right person was ready. Ravi understood that the journey was not over. The stone held more knowledge, more energy, and more lessons. But for now, he had unlocked its first secrets safely. The wagon, the Guardian, the doll, and the carvings had all led him here. And he knew that as long as he followed their guidance, the stone's knowledge could be used for good. Mira joined him at the harbor, smiling. Ravi, today we unlocked something incredible. But tomorrow, we continue our work. There is so much more to learn from the stone. Ravi nodded. Yes, but we must always remember the Guardian's message. Protect it, study it, and share wisdom. That is our responsibility. As the last rays of the sun disappeared into the ocean, Ravi felt a sense of fulfillment and purpose. The stone, the wagon, and the Guardian's careful planning had brought him here. He had discovered the secret, unlocked the hidden knowledge, and understood the responsibility. The adventure had been long, mysterious, and challenging. But it had also revealed the power of patience, care, and respect for history The glowing cylinder rested safely in its case, a symbol of the secret that had been protected for decades. Ravi knew that the wagon would remain on the ocean floor, the wooden doll silently guarding its memory. And he knew that he had become the next guardian, chosen by fate to continue the mission. The stone's soft glow reminded him that knowledge and responsibility were intertwined. The journey that began with curiosity had led to discovery, and the discovery had led to understanding. The adventure of the train wagon, the box, and the stone was complete for now. But Ravi understood that this was only the beginning of a new journey, one that would continue to reveal secrets, teach lessons, and inspire wonder for years to come. Ravi looked at Mira, then at the glowing cylinder.